"You think you can just act wild in my yard and get away with it?" Thompson shouted, pointing at me, his voice sharp and shrill while throwing whatever was in his hand toward my front door. I steadied myself, eyes locked on him, fingers tightening around the dog leash, because I knew this time it wasn't just about protecting my dog, it was about making them understand I would no longer tolerate any humiliation. Mary from next door peeked over from her backyard, phone in hand, clearly thinking about calling the police, but she hesitated after seeing the cold look in my eyes. She pulled back quietly. The Thompsons had long relied on their connections and the quiet nature of the neighborhood to bully us, dumping trash into our yard, harassing my dog, even mocking me in front of kids. "Everyone on this street knows your place is always a mess. Don't think I'm scared of you," he yelled again, his foot pressing on a broken flower pot as if showing off his authority. I slowly bent down and picked up my dog, holding him firmly enough. "Thompson, this time, it's your turn to face the chaos you've created." They froze for a second, no longer daring to step closer, their faces shifting from arrogance to uncertainty. The yard went quiet except for the wind rustling the worn leaves and the pounding in my chest. I didn't say more. Threats meant nothing at this point. What came next would be proven through action. They didn't realize that the patience I'd held back for so long had already become an undercurrent, gathering strength in silence, ready to leave them in utter disgrace when the moment came. "Let's return to that day," Thompson shouted. "You let your dog into my yard again," holding a worn baseball bat and pointing at me as I instinctively stepped back. I lowered my head, palms sweating, but stayed silent. The small backyard was covered in autumn leaves crunching underfoot as the wind swept through over the fence. Mrs. Thompson leaned out, watering can in hand, her voice sharp. "Danny, if this happens again, I swear." I clenched my jaw. These two had been a problem ever since I moved into this suburban neighborhood. Retired, loud, sharp-tongued. My dog wandering into their yard by accident was all it took to set them off. "I'm just letting him play in our yard. He hasn't hurt anyone," I replied, trying to stay calm. Mr. Thompson let out a dry laugh, shaking the bat slightly. "Don't feed me excuses, same story. Every time, barking, digging, messing things up. What you think people here are pushovers?" That moment it became clear it wasn't about the dog. They'd been looking for chances to push me around since the day I arrived. Parking, mowing the lawn, even how I hung laundry. They found fault in everything. The more cautious I was, the bolder they became. I understood I had to fight back. Their pressure over the years cut deeper than anything my dog ever could. Mr. Thompson would place his trash bins deliberately to block my driveway and watch from the porch as I struggled to get around them. Mrs. Thompson nitpicked every detail of my daily life, closed towels, making it impossible to feel at home. Once I left the recycling bin slightly open the next morning, Mr. Thompson stormed over with a bag of trash, dumped it across my driveway, and snapped, "This is your life." That's when I realized if I didn't act, I'd always remain under their shadow. So I began observing them quietly. Mr. Thompson walked his aging Labrador at 6 every morning, his gardening tools always arranged in a specific pattern. He enjoyed weekend gatherings, drinking until he got loud. Mrs. Thompson had a rigid morning routine, hung laundry in perfect lines, and would explode if even a sock fell. I began planning quietly, patiently, precisely. The first step of revenge: make them uneasy. One weekend I noticed a small security camera Mr. Thompson installed aimed directly at our house. I studied its wiring for days and learned how to disrupt it temporarily. That night I triggered a weak electrical interference. The footage flickered. The next morning he cursed, "Why does this thing keep glitching? Who is messing with me?" Then came Mrs. Thompson. I rigged a tiny device so her laundry would occasionally slip off the line at night. The next morning she panicked, "It must be Danny." Every move was calculated. I left no trace. I learned to stay calm, think ahead, and wait for the perfect opening. I began leaving subtle signs of my presence at night: small noises, scratching across the fence, a shadow moving just out of sight. At first I worried it might be too much, but each time they overreacted I felt a quiet satisfaction. It was proof that my patience had turned into power. I noticed they spoke less to neighbors and more to each other, arguing over trivial things that only mattered because of my interventions. Even their dog seemed confused, unsure which side the threat was coming from. Its barks no longer carried the same confidence. It finally came on a cold Friday night. Mr. Thompson was in the backyard drinking, slightly drunk. Mrs. Thompson had gone grocery shopping. I moved quickly, activating the trap's ID prepared in advance. First, I placed a vibration device under his lounge chair. When he sat, it shook violently, spilling beer everywhere and sending him tumbling. Next, I arranged wooden boards and stones across the yard. Each step triggered sharp noises, making him feel unstable. His anger rose. He swung the bat wildly, but the traps threw off his balance again and again. I even rigged the garden gnome to fall with a loud crash whenever he took a step in a certain spot. The backyard lights flickered under remote control, stretching shadows across the ground. Fear began to take hold. Mrs. Thompson came home, saw the scattered laundry and rigged yard, and screamed, "What is happening?" I stepped out from the shadows, calm and silent, no shouting, no gloating, just precision. Mr. Thompson tried charging again, but every attempt failed. He slipped in mud, knocked down flower pots, even slammed into his own fence. Mrs. Thompson yelled for help, but the street was quiet. No one came. As the night deepened, I slowly removed the devices, leaving behind only their ruined yard and their fear. "Please stop," Mrs. Thompson trembled, clutching clothes and broken pots. Mr. Thompson shook uncontrollably, anger mixed with fear. "What do you want?" I simply nodded to show you not everyone is yours to bully. After that night, they never bothered me again. My dog could play freely. Their constant scrutiny vanished. I didn't brag and I didn't push further. I kept my distance, kept watch. Every glance at their yard reminded me of their fear, the raw vulnerability they showed when control slipped from their hands. Life in the neighborhood became quiet again. I learned something simple: even in the calmest suburban streets, patience and precision can make oppressors pay the price they owe. Sometimes I would walk past their yard, feeling the tension in the air. The memory of that night lingered like a shadow. They had learned what I had already known: patience and planning could outweigh years of arrogance and cruelty.